conflict resolution is a muscle.
It's a muscle, man.
If you're not faithful in the little,
yeah, you can't solve the bigger one.
You cannot solve the bigger ones.
Yeah.
You know?
If you can't run 2 kilometers, you can't run a marathon.
It's simple math.
Yeah.
You know? Hi, Mamlaka. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing well during this very strange season that we find ourselves in as a people, as a church. My name is Pastor Sam, and today I'm joined by
Pastor Mwangi.
Pastor Mwangi. So Pastor Mwangi was here last week on Tuesday Connect, joined with Reverend Isaac, and we had a wonderful session of talking about marriage and communication in marriage. You know, it's funny, Mwangi, that we have to learn communication in marriage. You wonder what we were doing before, But it was very good to get to hear a little bit about communication, and we always need to learn some of these things. In fact, talks on marriage have become quite popular these days because couples have found themselves spending more time ever before, because of what is going on. And so during this season, it has been important for us to talk a lot more about, and today we're going to pick up on another subject called conflict resolution. Mwangi, conflict resolutions. If our wives will allow us to talk freely.
Yeah, they should watch this next year, Cindy. Yeah, not now.
To give us the freedom.
Yes, to give us the freedom to say the truth.
So maybe on to first question.
Yeah.
I mean, where do all these domains come from? I can try to imagine many people when they were dating, when the man's was still on fire, never thought the other person is capable of doing anything that is evil. They call each other angel.
Maybe you should start.
These terminologies. Because
remember those days, many moons when we were getting married. You remember how we had saved our wives on our phones?
Angel. By the way, fun fact, Mwangi was my best man.
Yeah.
Many moons ago.
Many moons ago.
Okay, should I say how long? Okay, it was 10 years ago, 2010. Yeah. At that time, I thought I knew a lot about marriage.
Yeah, me too. A year before you, 2009. Yeah.
Exactly. It's taken 10 years, to teach us. Actually, don't know.
Lord have mercy. Yeah.
Actually, don't know half as much as we thought we knew when we started this. But Mwangi, where do domains come from?
Yeah. Why conflict in marriage and very interesting conflict? Conflict between two people who mean well most of the times. Yeah. But domains, conflict just has a way of just popping up from nowhere. For two people who love each other.
Crazy.
How come two people who love each other sometimes have done the craziest of things to each other? How come you can feel so bad about the one person that you love? But honestly speaking, some domains are as a result of our fallenness. We are sinners, man. Yeah, Genesis chapter 3 happened. We fell for real. It's a sin issue. That's the bottom line. We are broken people, very self-seeking people, and that's the bottom line.
Man, is it not crazy?
Yeah.
How what sin has done to us?
Yeah.
And the hard truth, Mwangi, is nobody is willing to admit that we are broken, busted.
Yeah.
And messed up people. That's the truth, and that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
We have domains because we're sinful people.
Oh.
Period.
It takes God to help us to see that. Left to ourselves, we live our lives just trying to cover that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good that we're starting with the most important issue.
Yeah.
I think on an issue like this, we don't want to sugarcoat it. We can only build on the truth. You know, foundational truth is that we are sinners. And I think it's good when couples are beginning their relationship to recognize first and foremost, I'm a sinner, and it takes a lot of humility to admit that.
Yeah.
And I'm getting married to another sinner, you know, and we are two sinners that are coming together. And therefore, we expect that from time to time, you know, we'll be stepping on each other.
Yep.
You know, I enter into a relationship knowing because I'm a sinner and my spouse is a sinner, they're going to hurt me. So if you find that your spouse is hurting you or they have offended you, and it spirals into this crazy domain that cannot be resolved, it must mean that there must be pride in that relationship. One of you has either refused completely to admit or accept the fact that they are sinners, you know, able to step on the toes of the other person, or the other person is a sinner, and therefore we need to be gracious.
Yeah. Or both of you. It could be both of you.
Most times, of course, it's both.
Both.
I'm just trying to be.
Most time it's our wife.
No, not us guys.
Yeah, not us guys.
What was I saying?
Yeah, yeah, it could be both of us. Pride.
Pride, man.
I have my ego on level 9. My wife has her ego on level 9. It's pride issues, and pride is basically sin. Yeah.
It reminds me of a proverb. I think it's Proverbs chapter 13, verse 10. It says, where there is strife, there is pride.
It's pride.
Man, that proverb, the first time I read it and I got to understand what it was saying, absolutely blew me away. And I began to see it in my relationship. Where there is strife, there is pride. And it really comes down to what you're saying, sin. And pride is like the root of all sins. Pretty much is what made the devil the devil.
Yeah.
and in fact, it's interesting because Christ is pretty much the opposite of that. The Bible does say in Philippians chapter 2, let Christ be your example. It says, let your attitude be like that of Christ, who was, though he was God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped.
Yeah.
He humbled himself, and we know what he was doing. There was beef between us and God. It took Christ to humble himself in order to bring this reconciliation.
Yeah.
And isn't that what the gospel is? It's a ministry of reconciliation. You know, so I could say pride, just to follow up with what you're saying, pride, if there's domain in your relationship, ask yourself, am I being humble? Is there pride?
Yeah.
You know, what do you think, Mondi?
Well, you are on to something that is critical. I think if we had some mechanism to help us check our hearts and see where our pride levels are, it would be pointing to that one thing. I think for me, my experience is, I like to call it the Kirinyaga mafianess in me, because first of all, I'm growing up in Kirinyaga, and first of all, men don't say sorry.
Straight up.
And I marry someone who has lived her life knowing that when you're on the wrong, the first thing you do is to say sorry. Oh, Kirinyaga, we don't say sorry. And no, you can't say sorry to a woman.
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you, we've had to learn that the hard way. It doesn't come out easily. But here is because it's a pride issue, because you've looked down on women, and therefore culture has taught you how to not admit to mistakes. So it's one thing to keep quiet and walk away, but you're walking away with a very proud heart. I can't admit to that. I'm stubborn, you know. And especially because the person you marry, over time, they get to see right through you. And they're able to point to, I think if you and I were to admit, some of the most painful experiences is when your spouse actually points out something and you know deep down your toes it is the truth. But pride in you tells you, no, in fact, the problem is you. Ask people, they know I'm a good guy. Ask people, they know I'm humble.
Somebody said that pride is that enemy in us, which speaks to us like it's our friend. You know? It tells us, no, they can't talk to you like that. You know, you'll
How?
be defensive. You know.
Yeah. You are the leader of this house.
Exactly. You know, I think you're onto something there, Mwangi. A proud person has this inflated sense of self-importance. It's always the other person that has the issue.
And what I also find interesting is none of us walks around with a label on their face. I am proud.
Yeah, of course not. Pride,
Except it's that enemy in all of us, honestly speaking. Men and women together.
You never know you're proud. In fact, somebody said that pride is the carbon monoxide of sins. You know, it kills you. It's odorless.
It's odorless,
but it's killing you. You don't know it's there.
That's very interesting.
It's unlike the other sins. You know, you know when you're committing adultery. You know, I think it's John Agagwa. Some other time he was preaching, he said, "You don't find yourself, you know, in bed with some other person saying, 'Hey, who are you? You're not my wife.
What are we doing?'"
No, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing when you're embezzling funds. You don't find like 13 million in your account and go like, "Hey, how did that get in there?" You know?
But pride is different.
But pride, you never know when you're committing pride.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, you never know. And wow. Yeah, I've never looked at it that way.
We commit pride all the time in our marriages by refusing to
admit wrong.
Admit wrong.
Yeah, admit wrong.
Or when your spouse admits wrong, to release them.
Yeah.
You know, to recognize that, you know, they're sinners and I need to be gracious to them. You know, pride in you tells you, because of this inflated sense of self-importance, how could they do that? You need to teach them a lesson. We need to put them at their place.
Mimi siwezi ishi hivi. Hatutaishi hivi.
I was snip this at the bud.
I'm also human.
You know?
Yeah.
And it validates the aggression, you know, the blackmail, you know, all the negative responses towards the other person. Yeah. I mean, we're not saying when your spouse or your loved one does something wrong that you shouldn't get angry. The Bible does not say do not get angry. It says, but in your anger do not sin. In fact, the Bible in Ephesians chapter, is it 5? Or 4? You can go and look this up. It says,
it's in
do not let the sun,
chapter 4.
Yeah, do not let the sun go down.
Yeah.
You know, when you're still in anger. So anger is a normal human response, but you shouldn't just stretch this too long. Yeah. And especially if your significant other is trying to seek reconciliation by saying, I'm sorry. How can it be that someone can ask for forgiveness and you fail to forgive them? You who has been forgiven much, you know, by the Lord. It's
by the Lord,
to think about.
It's true. It's true. And I think that's a struggle for all of us because, I mean, the thing that I've seen is you get angry and you remain angry. And by that you think you will solve anything. There's a place for I'm angry, therefore let me take time out because I don't want to sin. But I think the thing that I've seen, including my own experience, is sometimes you get angry and you just want to stay there. I'm angry. Can't you see I'm angry? I think sometimes the most painful thing is when your spouse leaves you to be angry. Endelea tu. Then you see how that is now connected to the pride issue we were talking about.
And you only actually end up hurting yourself. It's crazy. Unforgiveness, it does more damage to the person who is refusing to forgive. You know, the moment you forgive the other person, you actually realize that the one who was locked up in that prison was yourself.
It was yourself. It's true. It's true. It is very, very, very true.
It's very, very interesting. Well, Mwangi, to move this forward, you know, leaving the whole issue of pride, because we can stay there, and there's so much. I mean, there's a lot of truth in the whole pride issue. But to move us forward, is there any other advice or something that you have ever heard or come to learn, you know, to do with marriage that could be helpful, you know, especially on this issue of conflict resolution?
Conflict resolution. I think there is one more, and this one even it's there in books about this. They say that every human being or every one of us, whether husband or wife, there is when conflict comes, each one has a typical way we respond to conflict.
Okay.
They say you are either a fighter or you are a runner. Okay, and under a fighter there are several flavors of that. Just like under the runners, there is also several flavors of how people run. So I've come to realize that if you don't know this is my wife responding to conflict the best way they know how, things are gonna go south, because the tendency is usually to demonize their way of responding to conflict. Like, for example, they say, well, and this is my experience, most men, we are just runners. We will just keep quiet. We will walk away. We will withdraw. Something that kills many women. We just withdraw and keep it to ourselves. We keep quiet. We go to the garage and not talk to this woman for the next 50 years.
I get the picture of a tortoise, going back to its shell.
Yeah. Men, we are known to go to, they call it going to the cave, or the shell one. So, but you see, my wife, honestly, she's a fighter. Fighter, there are those people who want, if there's an issue, we have to solve it now. Hatulali, wake up, midnight, wake up. No. Mature people have to do it now. I think most ladies are like that. But men, we just withdraw. We are runners. And so, if a couple are not aware of each other's fighting style, if I'm not aware of how my wife responds to conflict, it's gonna go south. Because the default setting is for me to demonize her way of responding to conflict, instead of seeing this is my wife responding to conflict the best way they know how to. And I think humility comes in knowing that even me who withdraws, even me who withdraws, that her way of responding to conflict, just like mine, none of those ways can claim divine inspiration.
I like that.
Yeah, none of them can claim to have been inspired by the pages of the Bible, right? It just because we are fallen, and some people, conflict comes, guess what they do? They withdraw. And I've seen that game a lot, because the people who withdraw, they tend to, what they tend to accuse their fighters of? Kakitu kadogo tu, kakitu kadogo, ndio unaonanga mimi na nyamaza. And then the fighters are accusing the runners of, you will never solve anything in this home. You're always running away. So I think maturity and conflict management demands that, first and foremost, that I be aware, this is my wife. Conflict has found us. Conflict has come into this marriage, and so I need to respond to it. But the first awareness of what is happening before I demonize and say, mimi nimechoka, hatuwezi ishi hivi, kakitu kadogo, ama you're always running away. I think the first thing is to know, this is my wife responding to conflict the best way, just like I'm doing it right now. And knowing that, my way is not the way of the holy people. Just because I keep quiet, the Bible doesn't say the people who keep quiet are the holy ones, and therefore they're wrong. That way, most people make a very serious conclusion in their marriage, and early enough that the problem in this marriage ni huyu, hata hawezi reason, because they are always so. To know that, I think, is the first weapon I've learned, I need to know this is my wife responding to conflict, and sometimes humility now demands, and this is the hard muscle, the strong muscle you need to grow, is knowing, conflict can't always be solved my way. Whenever there is conflict, I withdraw.
It can't always be your way.
It can't always be my way. It can't always be solved the way it works best for me, that I withdraw and leave you. Sometimes it's about the other person. Because you know what? I think if your spouse is fighting you about something that is wrong, or they are claiming it's wrong, it's because they want the very best of your marriage, right?
They might be going about it the wrong way, but most times the motive is to salvage the relationship or something like that. It's saying, hey, we have a problem here, and we need to address it. But because we are sinners, we sometimes go about it the wrong way. Sometimes it's like spraying water on a fire
Yeah.
that has been started by oil. It only makes the whole thing worse. Sometimes how we go about it, we only make the whole thing worse. Mwangi, if I can share something that I've learned, just in maybe not so far from what you've shared about understanding your spouse way of dealing with conflict. One of the things that I have heard that have really helped my marriage, by the way, I heard it from Noel War. One time he was preaching just in this church.
The guy in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Noel, if you're watching this, you really helped me. So he said that one of the things that you need to do whenever there is conflict, reconcile before resolving. I'll say it again. You reconcile before resolving. What is reconciliation? It's trying to bring peace between the two of you. If let's say this was an issue between us, rather than have you on that side and me I'm on this side, when we're just speaking over each other's heads, reconciliation is coming together on one side, attempting that, so that we can, once we are on the same side, we can attack the issue together. And how we go about reconciliation is to either admit fault, is to either come to your spouse and say, hey honey, I realize that we have an issue here. I'd like you to forgive me, for X, Y, and Z that I did earlier on,
Or you forgive me for whatever it is.
Yeah, forgive
that
me
I
for
don't know
but
and
let
you
me tell
don't.
you, I've come to see, if you will be honest enough, you might not know everything, but you know something that you did. And sometimes it could be your reaction.
Yeah.
Might not be the main thing, but it could be, at least I know my attitude about this whole domain has not been the best. I've been talking to you rudely, and I'd like you to forgive me for speaking to you rudely and all that I have done that has caused you grief. This time, please, I'd like us to be reconciled. And I'm hoping that your wife, I want to say wife, but your spouse. By the way, we should talk again about who should initiate this. Who should initiate this reconciliation?
Yeah.
When both parties are. I feel like both should initiate.
Yeah.
Whoever feels that they have much more grace. However, I still feel like it's the responsibility of the man, because we are leaders.
Yeah, we are.
Look, if your relationship is going day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 into darkness, I think somebody needs to call a truce, and the leader needs to do it.
That's dying. That's dying for men, dying for our wives, right?
Exactly. That's the same thing that I was talking about earlier. Let your attitude be the same as Christ, who, though he was God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped. If you think about the gospel, the one who had to die was the perfect one, was our leader. Yet he died,
And reconciliation between us and God started with them.
It started exactly.
That's a powerful model. That's
So,
a powerful model.
Yeah, so when you seek reconciliation, you say, I am sorry to your spouse. I'm hoping that your spouse has the maturity of saying, I forgive you. Why? Because they're seeing the bigger picture here. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get us reconciled. And your spouse has to decide which one is much bigger, our relationship or the issue.
Yeah.
And if your relationship is healthy, you will choose the relationship every time over the issue. I would rather have the relationship than keep the issue. And that's what reconciliation is meant to accomplish, to salvage the relationship.
And I like that. I think for me, the thing that I like to feel, the thing is sometimes one spouse is feeling, by me keeping quiet or by me not saying it, maybe your spouse even said sorry, but you're just stewing in it for long and for long. I don't think that helps a lot. The thing that I've seen with what you're saying is, at any one point, even in the middle of that domain, whatever my feelings are, I think we both have agreed that feelings are valid.
Yeah.
All right. You are feeling awful. Feelings are valid, but at no point are our feelings more important than our marriage.
I like that.
Yeah. our marriage is more important than my individual feelings at any one point.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think my wife and I at some point we agreed, I will not wait to feel right to do right.
Oh man.
Yeah, I will not wait to feel right to
do
do the right thing.
Yeah.
So
you do the right thing whether you
just
feel it or not.
Yeah, just because I'm feeling whatever this. Yeah. You can feel like that for 3 days, but you have to do the right thing.
Exactly.
And the right thing might mean you need to hug your wife before you go to work, right? Even though you know that there is no cell in you that wants to do that. You want to pick up whatever she sent you, and not using that for evening the calls. Wewe unataka tu vitu zako tu na mimi hapa naumia. You can't see the anger in me.
I like that. And here's the funny thing, Mwangi. If you're willing to let go of the beef, if you choose to do the right thing and let go of it, and you choose reconciliation, at the end, you come to see you had actually made a mountain out of a molehill. Have you ever noticed? You don't regret giving up the issue, the domain. In fact, you look back and you even wonder, what was it that was making us fight again? You can't even tell it to your friends because sometimes it's like the most foolishest of things, you know? But in our minds, and I think this is where I don't know whether to blame Satan or just our own sinfulness. We amplify things that are not important. Tumangi hadn't finished. So once we are reconciled, once we say, okay, I'm sorry, and please forgive me, because we recognize that we are sinners, we need to forgive each other, and that we need to extend grace to each other. Then we are able to come into the same side and attack the issue together. But as long as we are not reconciled, we will not be able to resolve it.
You will never be able to. It's missing the first step.
Exactly.
And jumping to step number 2, having missed step number 1. You're shooting yourself on the foot. You will have a semblance of peace.
But it doesn't last.
It doesn't last because those records have been saved.
Mwangi, any last words? Any
last words? There's something else I've also learned, and this one, you see, again, conflict comes. Conflict comes to you in twiddly, right? You're doing well now, but the next minute something you don't even know. Sometimes I think the devil. But anyway, conflict has come, right? I think how I view conflict in marriage or in my relationship with my wife is key to conflict management. Whenever we conflict, there's a way you feel like conflict is this thing that has come between us, right? And to see your wife on that side and you on this side, which means the only way you can solve that thing that is between the two of you is if you come to my side and see things from my side, my point of view. And that way, it's that thing we call, it's either my way or the highway. You know, things are, you have to agree with me. You have to agree with me. You have to agree. I think that's the making of bullies in marriage. And one person could be bullying the other.
I like that,
People don't have to. I'm realizing my wife and I, we don't have to agree on everything for us to be able to move forward. For example, we've never agreed on who drives better. So anyway, we thought, are we going to kill each other, man? I would get to church very angry because my wife, tumekosana. She's telling me, unaona huyo mtu, utagonga huyo. So we decided never to ever agree.
Man,
I think there are those things that you don't have to agree, honestly speaking. Like now, the relevance of whether I drive better or she drives better, how does that feature in us growing together in marriage? So I think that way you end up being the bully in marriage, where it's always your way, you know, it's always your way. You're not humble enough to say, you know, it doesn't have to. We can also remain disagreed. So my wife said when she's driving, I normally sit at the back, and when she is driving, I always sit at the back. And meaning, I mean, we used to kill each other, but now I think it's like
issue. Once you discover, you know, this on this issue.
But unfortunately, when that is not handled very well, it grows to this other thing that. So now there is you on that side, but here this conflict thing, your spouse is inside the conflict, so they have become the problem.
Yes. You don't want to get in a situation where your spouse is your problem.
Is your problem, because you can imagine all the how you deal with such a problem now. Do away with the problem.
Exactly.
Do away with your spouse.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's how some people have ended up thinking.
My
The only
spouse is
way,
my problem.
and they do away with the spouse, then problem solved. Unfortunately, killing of spouses and stuff like that. So I think that's unfortunate. I think what I've learned is most of the times I want to now view the conflict this way, that I am here, my wife is here, we are on the same side looking at whatever the issue is. So we are on the same team. Even when I have been wronged or I'm the one on the wrong, my spouse giving the benefit of doubt that, my husband and I, we are on the same side and we both equally desire and want to have whatever it is solved. So we became one. The two shall become one. So we are always on one team. But whenever conflict comes and you see someone on the other team and then you are on this team, kuna mahali mnaenda. That one just escalates because it goes back to what you said, which was very powerful, the issue of pride, man.
Mange, there's something that you've said there that is that absolutely blown me away about the whole issue of being a bully. When you want everything to go your way in marriage. It just reminded me that, sometimes we only see physical violence is the only thing that we talk about in marriage, is physical violence. But there's another kind of violence. Nobody talks about the emotional violence.
The emotional violence, the manipulation.
The
blackmail. Just because things are not going your way, then you blackmail your spouse, you manipulate them.
Yeah, that's violence. That's also violence.
Yeah, that's criminal, man.
And I think it happens a lot.
It does.
And we need to call it what it is.
I think every couple, every spouse has they know how to get in. They know which buttons to press in their spouse to bully them, manipulate them, get them in the box.
To cause them to marinate in sorriness until they're tapping out. Please, let me release me.
You're not sorry enough. I'm the one who will decide when
Things
I've
we
seen
do to
it.
each other.
Things we do to each other. The Lord help us.
Mange, last one. For my part,
Yeah.
I attend weddings and I hear people standing up and saying stuff to each other like, I will love you for better or for worse.
Okay.
In richer and in poorer, in sickness, in health, till death do us apart. Oh, they say such grand things.
And I'm laughing because I stood there hearing you say those things. I was your best man. No, you said them. You said them. You forgot you said them.
I had even extra words. I had like a poem.
Yeah, I know. I was there. I was holding the mic for you.
You are my angel. You are my star. You are everything. So you say such things, huh?
For better, for worse.
Grand things, till death do us apart, in sickness and in health. Hey, you go home. You realize your spouse doesn't even know how to cook very well. You want out. You want out on that marriage, man. Like, look, if on these little things, you're already getting worked up. What is these things that you were saying that you're gonna love your spouse into? Like these worst case scenarios, how are you going to live up to them? If on the little things, you can't stand your spouse's, let's say, temper or attitude, You want to check out real quick. What were you saying when you stood up before people and said for better? What did you have in mind?
Because at the first sight of trouble, some people want to jump ship.
Check out.
I have. No one told us this, but I like to tell couples, especially the ones that I'm going to be doing their wedding. I like to tell them, please remember, when you're saying those vows, you know what you're saying? The guests, do you know how they usually respond? They respond by saying, oh. I like to say, there's nothing romantic about the vows.
There's nothing romantic.
Actually, if you have to think about what you're saying.
What are you saying?
What are you saying?
It's crazy.
There's nothing romantic there.
Exactly.
So I usually like to tell a couple, I hope when you're saying those words, you will know this is what it means. This is what it means. Because nobody knows the journey ahead. Nobody knows the journey ahead. You have to allow the couples to seriously ponder what they will be saying on that day. I think that plays a people at a better place. Because honestly speaking, considering I mean, look at relationships nowadays. My friend Maura likes to say they, if you find a marriage where a couple has lived together for 2 months, that's an old marriage nowadays.
Because they break up so fast.
They break up so fast, but most of them because they never considered. They have been lied by the movies that there is something like married happily ever after. That is in the novel, man, and the movies. In real like yours and mine.
Messed up.
It's
messed up. And I find that if the only way you can live up to this worst case scenario vows, because you said for better, for worse, blah, blah, blah. The only way you can live up to that is when you start with the little things. Being quick to forgive for the little things. Being quick to ask for forgiveness. Just, it's a muscle you develop. Conflict resolution is a muscle you develop.
It's a muscle, man.
If you're not faithful in the little,
you can't solve the bigger one.
You cannot solve the bigger ones. You know?
If you can't run 2 kilometers, you can't run a marathon.
It's simple math.
You
know? You don't even need a logbook for that one. That's not that complicated. And then marriage is really a place for gospel reenactment. Bottom line, that's what we want to say. It's a place where we reenact the gospel. It's a place where we die, you know, for our spouse. Look at how Christ pursued his bride. You know, he died for his bride in order to be reconciled.
The bride that is the church, and that is us who have very unreasonable demands. To God. And the spouse, the wives are also like Christ, because see how Christ submits himself to the Father. It's true.
You know, we all of us, if all of us look at Christ,
that's
and
where
reenact the gospel, we will have one of the most beautiful marriages that the world has ever seen.
It's true.
You know?
It's true.
So Mangi, I know we can say a lot on this topic, but we can end it there.
We can end it there, and I think we've ended it on a good note that, again, I like to say, minus what Christ can do in us. I don't know what the hope of our marriages are, honestly speaking. I don't know. I'm speaking from mine. Minus what God can do to me and do to my wife by grace and mercy. Itakuwa ngumu, man. Itakuwa ngumu, man. It's true, man.
So that's it.
Christ in our hearts.
We give you Jesus.
We give you Jesus. We give you Jesus. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I think we want to end this with a time of prayer. Reverend Sam?
We can pray. Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for this session and this opportunity that you've allowed us to talk about relationships and conflict. We know, God, that you know us very well, and you know that we are sinners. That's why you sent Jesus Christ to die on the cross for us. And you ask us to look at Jesus as our example, even in conflict resolution. You say to us that let our attitude be like that was in Christ, you know, who humbled himself. And I pray that you will help us, God, to keep this view, even in our relationships, that we will not be found to be proud, just like Satan was proud, but rather that we will follow Christ in humility, and we will seek reconciliation with those that we love. I pray that you will help us even in our future conversations. May you continue to build our families and our church, even as we discuss about these issues that affect us. Be with us during these pandemic times. And oh God, may you still this storm for us. We look to you for help and for support. And we thank you for how faithful you have been even during this season. We give you all the glory and all the honor. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. We have plans to talk about single people and relationships in the coming Tuesday Connect.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So single people, stay tuned. Next episodes, we will be coming to you.
But I don't think this was too irrelevant.
No.
The kind of stuff that anyone can listen.
Exactly.
You know, you put it somewhere in a file. It can be useful for you later.
A relationship, whether single or married, you're bound to have the same.
Applies on
though on the other side, though before you get married, I think conflict is like Cartoon Network. Cartoons, the way they fight. one of the characters is flat on the floor. But
Yeah, I mean, it gets real when you get married. Sure.
Anyway, thank you everybody for listening. It's been about 30 minutes.
Yeah, more.
Yeah,
Actually.
more. Okay.
All right. See you on our next episode. Bye.
Bye bye.